I'm Ed Barker from Studio 1878. We help brands and businesses like you make better podcasts from their initial concept to distribution and well beyond. This is part 2 of our storytelling series where I'm unpacking how storytelling works in podcasting. Not just as a buzzword, but as a real creative tool that you can use to make your episodes more engaging, more structured, and hopefully more memorable. On the last video, I talked about why storytelling works, and today I want to get a little bit more practical because one of the best ways to level up your content really fast is to start recognizing the classic story shapes. That is the kinds of narrative structures that show up again and again and again in books and in movies, in journalism and marketing, and yes, absolutely in podcasting too. One of the things you'll learn is how to see them, and you'll hear them everywhere. And you can start building them into your own show or podcast. So let's start with a key idea. Story shapes are a bit like scaffolding. You can think of them as blueprints. They're not going to lock you into something, but they do give you something to build around when you're making your podcast. And they'll help you avoid the number one problem in business podcasts, which is kind of rambling about something nobody actually cares about. So I want to walk you through a few of the most useful shapes. Some of them are classic, some of them are adapted to content formats that you might use. You don't have to memorize them. You just have to start recognizing what fits your topic or your format or your audience. So let's dive into some of them. So let's talk about shape 1, the hero's journey. This is the Joseph Campbell, Star Wars, Pixar type arc, and it's everywhere for a reason. And it goes something like this. The protagonist is in their normal world, whatever that is. They face some kind of challenge or a call to action. At first they may resist, and then they accept their fate. They encounter trials and mentors and setbacks along their journey, but ultimately they transform. Now in B2B, your podcast doesn't need lightsabers, but let's say you're interviewing a founder or a customer or an employee with a pivotal experience of some kind. This arc gives you a shape. What was normal? What was the challenge they faced? What did they learn or overcome on their journey? And how different are they now? That's a story your listener can follow and feel. It's something from within. Shape 2 is the before-after bridge format. This one's straight out marketing, and it's really very effective. It's kind of simple as well. Before, what was the pain or frustration you felt? After, what does success or transformation look like? The bridge is, how did we get from A to B? You can use this one in solo episodes or customer stories or internal case studies, anywhere where you want to show change. It's tight, it's fast, it can be emotionally sticky as well. And you're not just listing features, you're telling a story about a transformation that has been happening. Shape 3 is the mountain. This one's used a lot in documentaries and narrative nonfiction. You start with a goal, top of the mountain. Then you encounter a series of obstacles on your way. Each obstacle might raise the stakes until finally there's a resolution or some kind of breakthrough. This works great for product development stories, campaign recaps, or moments of high tension. If your show is more journalistic, documentary in tone, then the mountain gives you some suspense. You don't start with a win, you're going to build to it. Shape 4, I like to call the list with the twist. This one is easiest to start using if you're doing thought leadership or solo insight episodes, perhaps. You start with something like, here are X ways to do something. It can be quite boring, right? But as you go, you start to weave a personal or emotional story into the thread. The final point isn't just a tip, it's a big reveal. This works really especially well if you can add more voice to your insights. You give the listener a bit of value and a bit of a surprise maybe. People come for the list, but they stay for the personal connection. And shape 5 is the spark and the expansion. This one's perfect for idea-driven podcasts. podcast. You begin with a spark, a provocative statement, perhaps a surprising stat or a moment that makes someone go, ah. Then you expand it. Where does that idea lead to? Why does it matter? How does it show up in the real world? It's especially effective when you want to make your content feel smarter or more reflective. The spark gets some attention, the expansion creates some depth. So how do you choose the right shape for your story or your podcast? Well, I think you can ask yourself 3 questions. What kind of transformational arc is present in the story that you're telling? Is this about a person or an idea or a problem or a moment? And what will keep the listener emotionally and intellectually engaged? Remember, you're not locked into one structure here, but if you go with no structure, you're likely to wander off topic and it won't be clear what you're trying to say. Choosing a shape helps you decide where the episode should start and where the tension should build and where you land that resolution. And that means your episode has a natural rhythm and cadence to it and a much better chance of being remembered by your audience. And quick note before we go, on repetition, if your audience starts to notice your shape, that's actually a good thing. It creates some familiarity with your format. It makes your show feel polished and it gives your listeners a sense of confidence in what you're saying. This show always takes me on a journey. So don't worry about being too obvious. You're being intentional here. So what have we learned today? Story shapes aren't just rules, they're tools. The more you recognize them, the more you can play with them. Next time you sit down to plan an episode, don't just list out questions or bullet points. It's easy to do. Ask, what shape does this story take? How do I build tension and resolution and a payoff? Where's the emotional hook, the stakes? If you're working with guests or co-hosts, bring them into that thinking as well. It makes the whole conversation a lot stronger. And finally, if you want help designing a show format that uses story shapes from day one, or you just want someone to look at your existing content and help reshape it, you can always drop me a line. The email address is below. I'm Ed Barker. This is the Showmakers series. Thanks for listening or watching, and I'll see you next time as we talk about what to listen for when you're recording.